Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Another fun tier list video for today. Today I'm looking at every single piece of legacy support that we have gotten since the beginning of 2023. We're almost exactly halfway through the year. I think it's fun to go back and do this. I'll try and update this video at the end of the year as well to look at the whole year as 2023 as a whole. But we honestly get so much legacy support in this game that I think you can even do it every couple months. Like, I've got 40 decks here, and that's not even everything for 2023. There are definitely going to be some decks that got left out, just because if I didn't, then we'd literally be looking at 100 archetypes for this tier list. That's just way too much. So if your favorite archetype that got legacy support this year isn't on here, let me know in the comment section down below where you think they would land. And also keep in mind, I'm being pretty loose with 2023. I have some stuff that was technically revealed in 2022 but came out in 2023, and stuff that's already revealed but not technically released yet in the TCG, stuff like that. I'm being pretty liberal with the dates here on what we're talking about, but generally it's more 2023 based stuff. So let's get into it. We got a ton of stuff to go through. Rapid fire here starting us off. You'll see how I'm kind of ranking these S, A, B, C, D as far as this legacy support goes. Starting off with Photons. They have a cover set, the wave of support, as well as a couple of other niche cards. I'm still going to put them in C. It's not, I know it's like fine, it's decent support for Photons, but I still don't even see them running around in rogue status. Like, they're really not getting even like regional tops right now. I'm going to put them in C. Springans as well. I know generically Champion Sargus has seen some usability here, but I'm going to put them in C as, no, this one's tough. Maybe I'll put him in B. We'll put him in low B, but we'll see. Some stuff may shift around as we get further into it. For Springans, I think it was actually a little bit better. It's way, way high ceiling, and Champion Sargus is kind of insane. Their new spell is kind of insane. The support was actually really good. Okay, Big Welcome Labyrinth, the only Labyrinth card that we've really gotten in 2023. This card is amazing. It's arguably the straight-up best card in all of Labyrinth. This card's incredible. Trap Tricks, I'm going to put them in high B. High B. This deck has seen like a decent amount of rogue play. It has gone from pretty much off the map to on the map. Not top tier, but pretty solid. A big wave. If you give any decent deck a structure deck, they're going to be in a good spot, so we'll take it. The Firewall support, I'm going to count this as cyber support in general. This could be some of the new Firewall links, the new two main Firewall monsters, as well as like Link Decoder now is out. I'm going to put him in higher B as well. I think I'm going to put it a little lower than Trap Tricks as far as the support itself. Now, keep in mind, I'm not ranking just where the archetype is, but how good the actual new support was. I'm going to put it a little bit below Trap Tricks. I think the stuff Trap Tricks got pushed them further than the new Firewall stuff pushed them. Okay, dinosaurs. They've gotten a handful of things. They've gotten like some generic stuff revealed. They've got the new Transcendosaurus cards. I think it's okay, but to me, it's C tier. It really didn't push dinos that much further. They definitely got a buff, but I do think, relatively speaking, if you were going to tell me that like 10-ish new dinosaur cards came out relatively recently, how good is dinosaurs now? They really didn't make that good of a leap. Now, again, some nice tools, but not great, right? So C tier makes sense. Altergeist. This one's a really interesting one. I actually am going to put this above Springans, so I actually do want to drop Springans down to C. It's an interesting discussion to have about the Altergeist support, because while the cards are decent, it really does morph the play style of the deck in a weird way, to where they're not like a super trap heavy variant anymore. They kind of want to play more of a mid-range like type of deck, which is a little bit weird for me, trying to figure out if that actually makes them better or not. But still, I do think the cards do just raise the ceiling of the deck for sure, and that is definitely worth something. I do think they could be back as a rogue deck potentially after this wave. Infernal Knights. I know this is super early. I think the support is so nice. This literally takes them from like off the map to like, I think, a potentially high level rogue deck. Like, legitimately in the range of like where Trap Tricks have been. That's really, really cool. I'm really excited to mess around with these. I think they're being slept on. I don't see many people talking about them at all. And part of that's because they haven't performed that well in the OCG. Max C is a little bit of a problem. They have different bans than we do for them. But I really think people are sleeping on them, so I can't wait to mess around with that. Okay, Nemlyria, really cool archetype. It does some fun stuff. It's a weird pendulum archetype, very unique. But to be honest, their support has been C tier at best, and that's even with the new card that just got announced a couple days ago. It's just not been enough. The engine doesn't set up enough interruption. It has some like brutal restrictions. This deck does, so combining it with other stuff is not even that easy. So for me, I think C tier makes perfect sense. Not only is the archetype C tier, but like the support's been right on par with the rest of the archetype. Evoltiles, I gotta put in C tier. I think for Evoltiles, they're nice cards, but like it's not going anywhere. So it's nice for them, but it's not going up anywhere. Unchained, I'm gonna put in B tier for sure. I think certain Fiend decks are gonna see a decent buff here, and I also think Unchained themselves are gonna see a little bit of extra rogue play here. I think they could be back as a fringe popular rogue deck with the power level of their deck increasing, as well as like consistency and ability to extend is pretty nice here. I actually like these cards a lot. Gishki, I think low-key, I'm going to put Gishki in B tier. I know some people are going to look at this and say, like, what? But that's because we're TCG players. As far as the actual Gishki support was, I actually think it was quite good. The problem was, we got the ban list that banned Sprite Elf like right before this set dropped, or right as it dropped, and so nobody got to play Gishki because the Gishki deck was one of the Sprite variants that used Elf so hard. Every Sprite deck kind of like used Elf, but different variants relied on it more or less. This deck relied on it so much. They have a Searcher that's not once per turn, and he's a level 2, so you would like summon him out of the deck off of Gigantic, and then reborn him off of Elf, and with that Elf, you just like lost a free search every single turn. Not only on yours, but also your opponent's, and so it really took a lot away from the deck, and it kind of died off, although I do think the support in a vacuum was actually pretty good for them. So I'm going to put him at B, because in the OCG, this deck was actually doing pretty well when they had Elf. Okay, Rescue Ace, I have to give it A tier. This deck is one of the best performing decks in the OCG. It took a deck that we considered garbage, though easily, no questions asked, the worst of that deck build pack, Amazing Defenders, the worst archetype in there, hands down, not even close, to arguably being the best one. Because of the specifically the 2 new cards coming very soon here in Dune. So you have to put respect on them. I'm not going to rank them as high as the Labyrinth cards, but still really awesome support for sure. Mikanko, I'm going to put it in low B tier. I think the support's actually... No, you know what? I think the support specifically has been a little bit closer to C tier. I think the start of the archetype was really nice. I think Arabesque is crazy. Ohime, kind of nuts. So they had their strongest cards revealed at first. Some of the new cards aren't bad. Definitely aren't bad, but like for what the deck needed, they need to be pushed a little bit more. And I'm not sure the cards we've seen so far have pushed them where they need to go. So for me, it's a higher C tier, but it's still C for me. Runic, Runic, funny enough, I'm going to put in like... I will put it in C tier. It's not like Runic needed much, but listen, they made support for it. It's one card, it's a new fusion, it's a nice utility piece for them, but as far as really pushing the engine anything, it doesn't do anything that crazy. Now, this is more of a product of, it's one card, it's a utility card, it's not going to break too much for the deck, so for me, it's just a simple C tier. Nothing wrong with it, it's only one card, but still. Pirelli, easy A tier, 100%. This is a deck that when its initial wave was released, did nothing. Wasn't doing anything anywhere. But then it got its 2 new cards in, was that Cyberstorm Access? Immediately becomes a tier 1 deck. It is, well, you know, I don't know, debatable if it was like legit tier 1, but it was top level meta for sure. It was like hanging around that group of, you know, seven best decks. It was legit. And so they banned something they limited something, and that hurt the deck a lot. And now they have another wave of support coming in Dune, and I think that will push them again into a more playable status as well. So there you go. That's all you need to know. It pushed them into tier 1. Dark Worlds. This is the first one. No, I can't go all the way down to D. But it's low C for me. It's funny enough because like you read Dark Corridor and like, whoa, that's a really good search spell. But You don't want to play 3 of it because it's a hard once per turn, and potentially Dark Worlds can brick on it because of how much they try to draw, and if you draw too many, you're just bricking on them. And so, like, it's fine. It's a nice 1 of or 2 of in the deck, but other than that, you're just like, okay, it's fine. So, really funny, but, like, you'd think this card would be amazing. Just C tier for me. Super Heavy Samurai, I'm going to put an S. This took a deck that, like, wasn't even a deck and pushed it all the way into pretty much the best deck in the game, other than, like, Kashtira, for a short period of time. So much, in fact, that Konami had to go ahead and, like, destroy them on the ban list very quickly. So, yep, easy S. Teller Knights are definitely B for me, around where Altergeists are. Not enough to push them into, like, high tier competitive. In fact, I wonder if the cards, if they had been designed a little bit in a slightly different way, if it could have been more advantageous. Not even necessarily make the cards stronger, but, like, just different, it would have been better. But I still think it's pretty good support, all things considered. The Beat Trooper stuff, we'll consider this all the insect support. It's still, like, C tier for me, even though Cruel Saturn is, like, a cool card. And some of the other insect cards have been decent this year. It just hasn't been enough to actually, like, move the needle on this deck much at all. So it's just still kind of in the same vein. Bestial will put them in A tier for sure. Not only did they get Ball Drake after the initial wave, but they also got Dispater later on as well. Those are 2 incredibly powerful cards. The deck likes to use them. The engine likes to use them. They're just good. There's not much else to say there. They're played in almost everybody's main and or side. So yeah, that works. Dinomorphian Tech. This is definitely a good B tier. Funny enough, this is a deck that only got 1 new card, but Dinomorphia has been one of the better rogue decks, especially if we're talking trap deck specifically. If you don't want to play Labyrinth, this may be, like, literally the next best trap deck. It definitely has an argument for that. This card is exactly what the deck needed. Fits a very specific need the deck needed. I'll throw it in a B for sure. Generator, another B. This deck's solid. I mean, you see this deck get, like, regional tops here and there. You have to respect it, and these 2 new cards definitely helped with one of their main issues being, like, bricking on the big boss monsters. These cards help them with that a bunch, so that's really good. Gold Pride, another B, an easy B for me on this one. After their first wave, you were like, hopefully they capitalize, and boy, did they ever. Between Roller Baller and Pin Roller, whatever the name of the fusion's name is, the search spell and carry the rank 3, and even the quick play reborn spell, those cards were took the deck exactly where we wanted to see it. As a pure version, it has been getting some decent tops on the regional level, and even combined with Punk as well, it's still been doing really good. So that's definitely good support there. Salamangreat, this is easy C, and this is so disappointing because they got 7 new cards, and the fact that they still end up in C with 7 new cards is pretty disappointing, but listen, they get a bump here, but I'm just not sure it's going to be enough to actually move them into rogue status. Volcanic, this support is, I almost want to put it in A, even though I don't expect Volcanic to be high tier. I'll put it in higher B. It's just, you took a deck that, like, literally didn't exist, and you made it, like, a competent rogue strategy, and I do think this will be a competent rogue strategy. I cannot wait to mess around with it. Battling Boxer, kind of same thing. I'm going to put it in lower B because I don't expect this deck to be, like, that good competitively, but considering it's a deck like Super Heavy, like Volcanics, that did not exist in any way on a competitive level, they went ahead and pushed it into, like, maybe a rogue strategy. They gave them some pretty dang good cards here and there. We'll have to see if anybody can actually make them perform on that level. Red Dragon Archfiend, I'm going to also put this in B. Lower B, probably. This deck has some very big glaring weaknesses, but it also has some strengths. This deck really plays. They gave them some pretty pushed cards, but there definitely were some things I saw that people had wished they had gotten, but they never did. So, good support, not great support. Easy B for me. Z-Arc stuff, again, a B. A lot of Bs here, and this is pretty common, I think. This deck kind of lands in a similar place for me as Draco Slayer, where, like, it's gonna fall. It's gonna be one of those pendulum decks that if you like pendulum decks, cool, you can kind of throw it into that category, and you pick which one you like, depending on the format and whatever. Sure, it might be right in that same range as Draco Slayer, but I don't expect it to be amazing. Watts. Watts is the only D tier I think that's going to be on this list. Listen, it's Watts. It's more of a meme deck than anything, so I don't blame them for this. But if we're talking competitively, Watts was a deck that didn't exist. like Super Heavy, like Red Dragon Archfiend, like Battling Boxers. And then this wave did nothing to help them competitively. They're not supposed to be a competitive deck, and that's okay. But that's what I'm grading them on for this video. Ogdoadic, another B tier, 2 really nice cards. That quick play spell is beautiful, and for a pure variant, this new boss monster is also very nice. Very excited to mess with them some more. Vanquish Soul. All they got was the new guy, so I'm going to put him in C tier. I think he's fine. He's a nice card for the deck. They needed a better fire target, which they do get, but it's one card. The trap is terrible, so it's just mid-support overall. You know what I mean? From where Vanquish Souls were, just okay. Nouvelle, 2 new cards, but they're both really, really good. Those go to B tier for sure. Abyss Actors, I think for where they were, which was like nothing, and they actually became like an interesting little rogue deck that can definitely compete with some of the better decks in the game. I think that support was B for them. Ninjas B as well. This was an unplayable strategy that became quite playable with their new support. I actually think they're closer than people think to being like on that next level, but who knows how long it'll be before we get more ninja cards. Evil Eye, again, a better wave than people think. Like, people don't respect Evil Eye. They actually set up like 4+ interruptions on like 1 or 2 cards pretty consistently. They're pretty cool. They have huge weaknesses for sure, but like they're better than people think. The 2 new cards they got this year were actually really good. Dogmatica, sure, we'll put it in lower B tier. Dogmatica already had really all the tools that they needed. They just got like some fun ritual stuff. It's cool. They get some like pretty powerful win conditions, but you know, not enough to really push it into A tier or anything like that. Brandy gets A tier for sure. They got Grand Guignol, they got Rimbrum, they got the new Albion in the last set. They got a bunch of cards, Quem, and late last year they got Cartesia. They've gotten so many cards as of late. They're dumb. I hate them. Whatever. They're there. And then Plunder. I'll put Plunder in C. Oddly enough, I know people go crazy because they got the Wind Ship. Awesome. Yay, the Wind Ship. We've always expected the Wind Ship. So, like, getting the Wind Ship now is just kind of like, okay, we should have had this already. And the ship is good, but I don't think it moved the needle for them that much. It helped them with a couple of annoying matchups that are a little more playable now. And like there are some combos where this card is like really nice, but aside from that, it's just been okay, and it hasn't moved the needle too much for them overall. So yeah, that was the last archetype, Plunder. So going through it one more time, look at this before we end it off here. D tier, Watts. C tier, everything in here: Salads, Plunders, Bikonkos, Vanquish Soul, Runic, Spring-ins, Insects, Photons, Dark World, Dinos, Nemlyria, Volatiles, B tier, lot in B tier, Infernal Knight, Trap Tricks, Gold Pride, Volcanics, Unchained, Zark, Cyber Stuff, Dinomorphia, Tellarknight, Battling Boxer, Gishki, Ninjas, Nouvelle, RDA, Abyss Actor, Generator, Ogdoadic, Altergeist, Evil Eye, Dogmatica, A tier, Pirelli, Labyrinth, Rescue Ace, Bestial, Branded, and in S tier, of course, Super Heavy Samurai. This just the specific legacy support pushed for Super Heavy Samurai just seemed over the top crazy to me, and that's why it set itself apart on this list. But that is my tier list for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. As always, is there anything you obscenely disagree with and you definitely would want to move the tiers for? Again, I'm not ranking these decks on where they ended up after their support. I'm ranking them off of just the support itself, and how much it improved the deck. And yeah, I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, stay tuned. We should be big on news for the next couple days and weeks, I would say. Honestly, like 3 weeks, we should be pretty heavy on news. I'll bring you anything that drops there. But I'll see you in the next one. Peace.